Greetings, family and friends and foes. Uh, we welcome you once again to, first of all, Ahk Gamariyahu Speaks, which is a segment we like to call Teach, Talk, Tell the Truth. And I am your host, Ahk Gamariyahu, in some circles known as Tom Outland or T.O. And I'm your divine servant, and in my capacity as a servant, it has caused me to go into several communities throughout the United States and also outside of the United States to find like-minded individuals who think along the same lines as people like Marcus Garvey and the messenger, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, and Booker T. Washington. And I think the common strain, as I'm mentioning those three people in particular, is that there was a common strand of the idea that we have to do for self. Under any circumstances, under any conditions, we have to do for self. So in this particular climate that we are in now in 2025, I'm steering the conversation into an interesting place. I'm taking a position that I think, for those of you who are familiar with me, you might be surprised that someone like myself would say that the current president of the United States, the United Snakes of America, President Donald Trump, is God sent for black people. Now, first, let me come back to that. Let me just let that hang out there for a moment, that President Trump is God sent for black people, okay? So let that marinate. I want to share with you some very important ideas that you should have as a baseline for our interactions, okay? The first thing is that the definition of truth. What is truth? Unfortunately, in many instances and many exchanges, truth is subjective. And in being subjective, it's subject to whatever or whoever is presenting it, and whether or not from an emotional standpoint, usually more so than an intellectual standpoint, we just like what the person is saying. We like the way they talk. We like the way they dressed, that kind of thing. However, the definition of truth that we'll be using is that truth is a synergy of those thoughts, words, ideas, and concepts that keep one in alignment with the universal corrective forces. What are you talking about, Gamariyahu? The universal corrective forces, let's say principles such as love, justice, equity, peace, so on and so forth, okay? So with that, truth now has a way of being measured. We can look at the condition of the outcome of things that are said and then determine whether or not it was in fact truth. If it promotes positivity, if it promotes progress, if it causes an elevation or an ascension of a certain situation that we're focusing on, then certainly we can concede that it's true. Now, if we talk about truth, let's also talk about deception. I think that deception is a much greater, particularly in this current climate, it's a much greater topic to really understand and have this definition which I'm about to give you. The deception, plain and simple, is to cause someone to believe that that which is false and invalid is in fact true and valid, or vice versa. To cause someone to believe that what is true and valid is in fact false and invalid. So with that, deception involves seeking to place someone out of position. Okay? Now, as it pertains to our time today and what we're going to do on Teach, Talk, Tell the Truth today is I would like to offer a report of my activities over about the past week and a half, which I traveled to Chicago, and during that time there were some significant developments, some of which I will be able to discuss freely and openly, and others which maybe we'll just serve we'll preserve for another time. But specifically, what I want to talk about today, as we consider the definition of deception, to cause someone to believe that which is false and invalid is in fact true and valid. Stevie Wonder said it best, I think, in his song Superstition. He said that when you believe in things that you don't understand, then you suffer. So in our ultimate pursuit of knowing what the right knowledge of reality is, which is another definition of truth, the right knowledge of reality, in our pursuit of truth, we understand that if we get played out of position, it can result in suffering. Stevie Wonder said, when you believe in things that you don't understand, then you suffer. So it is incumbent upon us to learn, to teach in those instances where we have information to share, and to also submit or subject ourselves to a dedicated learning process that will expose us to the necessary information that we need in order to operate in a place and a space of respect, in contrast and comparison to other peoples. There's with the thinking of Marcus Garvey in the 30s, he said, there's no situation that black people should be under where they should feel that another group of people ruling over them is going to be better than some other group. God forbid. Our focus should always, just like any other group of people, just like the Irish, just like the Italian, just like the Polish, the European, the Asian, the Pakistani, the Indian, the Chinese, the Vietnamese, the Australian. Each and every group should be seeking its greatest good for that group. Unapologetically. And in many cases, people of African descent, people of color will say, okay, let me clarify that for a moment, please, because I'm just going to share some controversial, some things that may sound controversial the first time that you hear them. And I'm reminded the scripture that says that the ear tastes words the way that the tongue tastes food, okay? So I'm asking you, leave your emotions out of this for a moment. Just hear it, okay? If I held up a picture of a black face and a white face, right? And I asked you, which one of them is an African American? How many people are going to choose the black face and how many are going to choose the white face? Probably next to none choosing the white face. However, follow me now, for white people living in America, they are Americans. For human beings, of which there are roughly about 7 billion plus on the planet, any human being on the face of the planet is African. What are you talking about, Gamariyahu? Every person on the planet is of African descent. There is not one exception to that rule. White people are the descendants of Africans. Black is dominant, white is recessive. Their science tells us this. The oldest living bones of any human being were found where? Northeast Africa. Their science tells us this. So what I'm saying is, let's not allow ourselves to be taken off of our square, and we need to be seeing the full picture as the information that we have paints it, not what people are saying. People make their mouths say anything. I'm reminded of these words I have here by the educator Carter G. Woodson. And he said in his book, The Miseducation of the Negro, which is on the reading list, the Teach, Talk, Tell the Truth reading list, okay? These are essential books that anyone seeking to understand the true orientation of the black man and woman at this time or any other time in history, our reading list will help you to find the necessary pieces of the puzzle that you can put together the truth for yourself. So, Carter G. Woodson in his book, The Miseducation of the Negro. Now, it's very interesting when we think about this writing for a moment, because Carter G. Woodson was an educator by trade. And he writes a book where he says, the miseducation of the Negro. That seems to be contradictory, you know, in some respect. Why would an educator not be advocating the system that he is a part of? All of this brings us back into our conversation today about doing for self and understanding that we should beware of strangers bearing gifts. Beware of strangers bearing gifts. That we should also evaluate everything's worth, everything that comes into our sphere of influence. Everything should be evaluated based upon our ultimate benefit, our ultimate gain, not the LGBTQ and the Hispanics and the I don't know, you pick a group, what's being let's say the Palestinians, and let's say as well, the Ukrainians. I am not saying that we should not have a heart of concern and compassion for these other peoples that are struggling. However, the prophet referred to by the moniker of Jesus or Yeshua, he said, take care of home first. He said he came with a message for the tribe of Israel when he was speaking at that time. Okay? But he's basically saying, do for self. Take care of home first. And then you are in a much greater position to take care of others. So Carter G. Woodson in his book, The Miseducation of the Negro, says these words, and I quote, "If you can control a man's thinking, you do not have to worry about his action." If you can control a man's thinking, you do not have to worry about his action. Now remember Stevie Wonder saying, when you believe in things that you don't understand, you suffer. Remember our definition of deception: to cause someone to believe that what is false and invalid is in fact true and valid, or that which is true and valid to be false and invalid. Carter G. Woodson is saying that when you cause deception to be the ruling order of the mind, you don't have to worry about that person's actions any longer. Why does he say this? I continue. He says, when you determine what a man shall think, you do not have to concern yourself about what he will do. If you make a man feel that he is inferior, you do not have to compel him to accept an inferior status, for he will seek it himself. Where are we going? What are we saying? Okay? If you can control a man's thinking, if you can provide him through the media stereotypical images that put him in a negative light, he's more than likely going to absorb that way of thinking and viewing himself negatively as he views those negative images. This is what is known as self-hatred, which creates a situation where you assert greater value to that which is foreign to you, and you, by almost, by law, rule of the day, assert lesser value to that which is created with your own hands, to that which comes from your own mind, thoughts, so on and so forth. That which looks like you. If you make a man feel that he is inferior, you do not have to compel him to accept an inferior status, for he will seek it himself. If you make a man think that he is justly an outcast, okay, you do not have to order him to the back door. He will go without being told. I'm going to repeat that. If you make a man think that he is justly an outcast, that he has no place or worth or value or business being in the midst of that which is valuable, right? You don't even have to order him to the back door. His world view is going to force him to the back door. He wouldn't even feel right walking to that front door. He wouldn't even feel right sitting in the front row. He wouldn't even feel right. He will go to the back door without being told, right? But here is the crippling, sad, phenomenally painful truth of the matter. If there is no back door, he will create a back door for his own purposes. If you make a man think that he is justly an outcast, You do not have to order him to the back door. He will go without being told. And if there is no back door, his very nature will demand one. So, sharing these things of truth with you to steer the discussion in a certain direction so that we can talk about some key events, some key exchanges that your servant, your prime minister, right? Your emissary had in Chicago at a very critical time, okay, with the socio-political circumstances in the country at this time. A lot of people are in panic. They're in panic about their benefits, panic about food stamps, in panic about what they used to call no-knocking in the 60s and 70s. Now it's ICE raids in 2025. Unfortunately, Black people in America have distinguished themselves historically as a people that is crisis oriented. Okay? I'm going to explain that, what I'm saying. Okay. Now, let us remember the Honorable Elijah Muhammad taught that of all the disciplines, that history is best qualified to reward all research. So if you want to find out about a people, you pull up they track record. You pull up their history. On the street level, we talk about you pulling somebody's file, So when we look at Black people in America in particular, unfortunately, in many instances, and I'm not saying in all instances, but just many, they've been crisis oriented. When things have been comfortable for them, they cool. They going along to get along, They don't have any problem with certain things that might be potentially even dangerous. Okay? So with that, I'm saying to you that as we pull the historical record of Black people and understand that they have been crisis oriented, I am saying, I'm going to simplify this at this point in time. I'll come back to it later maybe, but Donald Trump is a godsend for Black people at this time because he is removing the smokescreen, the veneer of the successful Black folks that you see all on social media, all on TV, commercials, so on and so forth. And you can make $1 million too. All you need is my workshop. It's ridiculous. And when we watch, the blatant materialism and just foul behavior of programs like Love and Hip Hop, Basketball Wives, and just ratchet stuff. I'm not saying that it's not, for some people, entertaining. However, we have to ask ourselves that, what's the outcome of that for young people who are watching that more than likely without a parent, and so they may not get the information. Well, that's just reality TV. They just acting. No. These young people may actually think that when you go to a club, if you're not snatching a weave or throwing a drink at somebody, we ain't had a good time. it's a concern. Okay, so as we're driving this conversation back, Donald Trump being a godsend. Unfortunately, with our people being crisis oriented, it's only when things are so terribly bad or tragic that there's no moving to the left or to the right. And ultimately what happens? We get forced back to each other. And that's why your servant, your brother, your friend, Ahk Gamariyahu, is celebrating. Now, let me be clear. I'm not celebrating the suffering, the pain, and everything that comes with it. Okay? I'm suffering the climate, and I'm celebrating rather the atmosphere and the climate that is forcing black people and people of color to solve their own problems. Was speaking earlier with Brother Pierre, CMP, about the Greensboro community, the Tulsa community, you know, where we had, North Carolina, Florida, throughout the United States, post, when we went into Reconstruction after after the Emancipation Proclamation, 1865, right? Okay. After that, not even 20, 40, 50, not even that long, you have these communities of unrivaled wealth in the United States. What was the formula? You have not much longer after that, in the early 20th century, early 1900s, you have Booker T. Washington in Tuskegee, Alabama, building an institution which still exists to this day, the Tuskegee Institute. Phenomenal. When you read his biography, you realize that he became a brick maker. They learned how to build, they learned how to create bricks, and then sold bricks to the general community. But here's the most important thing. If somebody else knows how to make bricks, that means it can be done. People can make bricks somewhere. What if we could make our own bricks?
We can.
What if we make our own bricks?
We can.
Well, what happens if we can and we do make our own bricks?
I think the thing is, with knowledge, is something that's supposed to be shared. And I tell you this all the time.
Okay.
Right? If you have knowledge on how to do something, you should want to share it, right? With someone younger than you, so it can continue. What happens is the knowledge stops. Now, it's either fear or it's just being contrite, right? Or just being okay with where you are, right? And thinking you don't have to share that with the next generation, or you don't have to share that with your brothers next to you, right? Mm-hmm. I remember having a conversation with someone, and they were talking about a fisherman in a village. This fisherman will go out every day and go fish, and will come back to the village, and people will run to him because he was the only fisherman in the village. He was the only one that knew how to go out there and catch fish. And one day he didn't come back. That village suffered heavily until someone decided to get on a boat and go out there and catch fish. But if he would have took brothers with him,
Right.
how much more fish would have come back into the village? How much more fish would they be able to give to other villages, or sell or barter or trade with other villages? So if you keep things to yourself, you keep them small. If you share them with all, they grow. So for me, it's listening and hearing about the past and understanding that it's still connected to us today, right? When you talk about Tuskegee Institute, you talk about him being a brick maker, right? just understanding that that knowledge was probably brought from Africa, right? It was probably an elder there that said, yeah, this is what we used to do. This is how we used to build our huts. Now, it wasn't bricks, small bricks. It was probably bigger. We played with clay. We played with dirt. We built our homes out of these things, right? We can build them here, too.
Indeed.
So the knowledge has to be shared. And you have to also, so if the knowledge has to be shared, you have to be capable of listening to your brother. I tell you all the time, bro, come, talk. I just want to sit at your feet and learn everything that you know. Okay. And call me selfish if you want, but
you got it.
That's what I want, and that's what I want for the people. I want it for the community. I want you to talk.
Now the thing with that, and I give all praise to the Creator for anything that my teachers gave me, and I'm just giving what was given to me, and I'm praying that I'm doing it in a fashion, not that it can just be heard and marveled, maybe, for lack of a better word. No, it has to be heard and motivate for movement. Other than that, it's a vanity. You know, I'm not interested in coming in here to do a podcast or whatever and feed my ego, feed, I have less than no interest in that. The reason that we're here to teach, talk, and tell you the truth is so that you may activate these words and these principles in order that we can get us some victories.
Let's go.
So that we can win. So that we don't have to continue to always be an asterisk people. Well, that thing they did over there was good, but it is in the black community, it's in the hood, so it's really not that great. I'm trying to think of some situations where we do things, but there's an asterisk next to it because, well, you know how it is with black folk and that whole. I'm saying later for that. Kill that way of thinking. We have to promote and sustain excellence in our midst. Nobody's ice is colder than ours. In fact, I don't even think that their ice. I don't think their ice floats or sinks. I think it just disintegrates if it touches fluid. I don't know. But I'm saying to us, this wasn't the focus of my talk, but it is now.
Yes, it is.
That you have to love yourself first.
Say that again.
You have to love yourself first. You can't love anybody else. We can't save anybody else if we ain't saved ourselves. So, not to preach on that point, but I'm saying that I am the active point person to help us build the communities of like-minded individuals, right? That we will seek the greatest good of everybody in our circle. And later for everybody else. We ain't saying that we disregarding them completely. We're not saying that. What I'm saying is later for them. After all the people that we love, all the people that we're concerned about, all the people that we care about, after they have all of the things that they need. Many or most of the things that they want. They safe. For me, see, that piece you were talking about, that's capitalism and individualism. Crabs in a barrel. Right. See, for me, I'm going to tell you, the skills that I have been either blessed with or have nurtured and cultivated. Money is not an issue. If it were money that I'm seeking. And I'm saying that for me, I don't want to be the only millionaire on the block. That's a lose. That's a lose situation for me. This is my dream. Everybody that I care about, everybody that is connected with us, they got everything. They safe, first of all. They have everything that they need. Some of the things that they want, or many of the things that they want. I don't know. But give me that. As opposed to, I'm going to take the house outside of the community.
Come on, man.
Why would you do that?
Who you building with?
No, not even who you building with. When the fit hits the shan, where are you running to? Now you on an island in the midst of people who didn't want you in the neighborhood to start with. Now I know you can live anywhere you want, but sports fans, I grew up in Chester, Pennsylvania.
Right.
You understand?
It's the only place I want to be.
They used to say about Chester that you could lose a job
and get a job
at 7 a.m. and before 12 noon have another one. They used to say if you couldn't make it in Chester, you couldn't make it anywhere. Used to have the Ford factory building cars. Used to have Sunship about 3-4 blocks from our studios, where the president of Ghana, the first president of Ghana, Kwame Nkrumah, who attended Lincoln University, about 45 minutes from Chester, right? He worked on them docks, building ships at Sunship. We got Scott Paper, which is now Kimberly-Clark. Used to have the Medford meat factory right here too. Chester, you have to look at it different. Chester is a university town. If any of you have been to the University of Delaware and just walk around, you can't miss stores, clubs. It's like South Street all around. Right. It's a university town. That's the same thing Chester is. Right. However,
it's the university.
When you can control a man's thinking, you don't have to worry about his actions. If you can cause him to think that he's inferior
or less than,
he's going to seek the inferior position.
Yes.
And if there is no back door, he's going to create a back door. Okay. I'm going to give this number, and I'm going to mention these things because I'm ultimately trying to talk about Minister Farrakhan and his presentation, the economic boycott that's coming up, which we all need to know about.
Yes.
And a couple of other exciting things. I'm actually presenting a line now of alkaline water under our own brand. I'm also introducing a vegan food delivery program. We're going to do it once a week to start, because y'all, I mean, I love y'all. Y'all, y'all cool in the game, but y'all ain't tricking and trapping Gamariyahu, where I go and buy a space for a restaurant and y'all come once and be like, I support it.
Right.
That ain't how that go.
Okay.
So if we now in my travels, You all that have seen my Facebook, I did a tour of Soul Vegan Love in Chicago. The place ain't even opened yet. We can franchise Everlasting Life in Maryland, Soul Veg City, Soul Vegan to Go, Soul Vegan Love. I mean, we can franchise here in Chester. I've already created those kind. Also, Majani, which is high-end restaurant dining. It's nothing. It's less than nothing for us to do it. The resources are there and the will is there. The question is, do we have the consumer base? So we're going to introduce this what do you call it, vegan food delivery program. Once a week, we're going to take orders. If we get enough orders to facilitate carrying it out, then all of those meals will be created in the kitchen of Everlasting Life restaurant in Maryland. So you'll be able to order off the menu what they ordering in the restaurant, and we're going to have it brought here one day a week. And if we get enough people each week, maybe we stretch out to 2 days. If we get enough consistency, okay, I'm looking at a place. But what I'm saying is, my success in that area, I ain't even interested in doing food, honestly. Not interested in it. For me personally. I want to show what the people of Chester can do if they decide. This is what we want. I know we can do it. And I know that it would be successful. Why? Because Chester is pretty much equidistant. That's a big word. All it means is it sits in the center of 3 major geographical locations. If you go south on 95, maybe about 15 minutes tops, you are in Wilmington, Delaware, which is the financial capital of the area. People like the DuPonts down there. If you go 10 minutes north on 95 from Chester, you're at the International Airport, Philadelphia International Airport, and if you drive another 5 minutes, you're in Center City, Philadelphia, one of the major trade and business hubs on the entire East Coast. I'm not sure if it's second to New York, but it ain't far behind.
No, it's not.
On that list. It's probably number 2, 3, maybe as low as 4 or 5. I don't know. And Chester has a bridge that takes you into New Jersey. What I'm saying is, the number one rule of real estate is location, location, location. Okay? So, having a successful business here in Chester is not the issue. The question is the mindset that's present, whether or not it will facilitate the success of that. So, what I'm going to do, I'm going to give you this phone number, which is 202-596-8182. That's 202-596-8182. And you can get in touch with several of the organizations of which CMP and myself, we are affiliated with, such as Freeman Circle, LLC, the Divine Universal Brotherhood, which I'm going to talk about in a second. Anyway, the Tri-State Community Development Group goes on. But the number again, 202-596-8182. So, we're about 50 minutes in, give, take, maybe less than that. We started a little late. I want to share with you. I had the experience. I had the blessed opportunity this past Monday to sit in the presence of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. Okay. The Nation of Islam has called for a national men's meeting. I need to tell those of us in the tri-state, Pennsylvania, New Jersey, Delaware area about this, because we need to be involved with this. Okay? The focus of the men's meeting is creating safe and decent neighborhoods, period. Creating safe and decent neighborhoods. That was the focus of the gathering of all the men at Mosque Miriam in Chicago, and Minister Farrakhan, who is, I believe, 92 years old. Okay? He didn't speak as long as he may normally have spoken in the past. He didn't refer to any notes or scripture except those that he contains in his mind and his memory, even to this day. He spoke from the heart about his brothers and his sons that were in the audience, and he said that, well, I have to tell you that the presentation was very, very emotional for me. Understanding, I want to talk about the kind of, see, if you can control a man's thinking, you do not have to worry about his actions. So if they can convince you that Minister Louis Farrakhan is a bad guy and you stay away from him, that sounds like divide and conquer, doesn't it?
All day.
If they can control your thinking and make you think that he is a man of hate and not of self-love. See, the problem that many have with Minister Farrakhan is that he don't think that white people's ice is colder than black people's ice. You can't convince him of such. Can't convince me of that. What I want to say, I want to speak about the humanity of the man for a moment. Whatever his faults are, grant that. Okay? Mr. Farrakhan said, I think it was last Monday, the meeting was originally supposed to take place previously, maybe some weeks or months, I don't know, or whatever. But he said that he wanted to be physically present when the brothers came together. And what he said, among other things, while he was there, was that he knows that the enemies of black people, well, I'm paraphrasing. He didn't say the enemies of black people. He said he knows that there are certain people, okay, apologies to the minister. There are certain people who would be anxious knowing that all of these black men are coming together and they're going to be talking with Farrakhan and, you know, with the fruit of Islam and such and so forth. And he said he wanted to be there to make sure that nothing happened to any of those men. In fact, he said, now, Minister Farrakhan is 92 years old. Not in the health of a 32-year-old man. We'll just leave it at that. He said that if anyone came to that door to harm any of the men in that room, that he would place himself at the front door to make sure that none of his beloved brothers and sons were harmed. I don't know. If you can't feel that, you got a hole in your soul. You need to get that checked. Minister Farrakhan, in his comments about us taking on this task of creating safe and decent neighborhoods, said, don't disregard and ignore the homeless and those who have fallen on hard times. Okay. We got to wrap our minds around how we do that, you know, and we continue moving forward. Because I'm gonna tell you that I struggle with that. Giving somebody a couple of dollars or even food for the night, that's not going to change the condition. The problem is the system that creates the condition. My point is this. I'll give you an example. One day I'm up on Highland Avenue at the, CVS, I guess. A brother approaches me at my car door. Growing up in Chester the way that I did, that wasn't an advisable move to walk up on me at my car. I said, brother, what are you doing? Hey. That's what I said. That's all I could figure out to say is, hey, just letting him know, you know. But that's the sad part, because more than likely, if there's ever any violence exacted against a black person or by a black person, it's going to be against a black man. And I'm troubled by that. You know, I said to the brother, though, my man, we got babies out here that we are trying to take care of and support. We got mothers and single mothers out here being beaten and not supported and, you know, living from pillar to post. Bro, we got to take care of you too. We got to carry you. All right. If that's the calculus that we got to deal with, no one being left behind, I'm cool with that. Everybody's got to try. Everybody's got to rake and scrape, do something. Anyway, that was one of the points that Farrakhan made that I'm sharing with you in my report. Another point that he made, he said that the young brothers that are in what he calls street organizations, he says that we need you. You are needed. You are valuable. He said that in the things that concern us that they're involved in, they're not wrong in what they're doing. They are acting out based upon the training and the teaching that they received in the street. He said to all of the men in the audience, we have to go to them, brothers in these, in if you call them gangs or street organizations, whatever, we have to win their hearts and minds. You hear me? And we have to retrain their mind, reorient their thinking. Because you cannot be participating in acts of violence and expect to have a safe neighborhood. Not going to happen. You cannot bring a foul, destructive lifestyle into the neighborhood and expect the neighborhood to be decent. If we're going to have safe and decent neighborhoods. See, we've been taught that words are things. Words are things. What are you saying, Gamariyahu? We've been taught that words have the creative power, that this table behind which I'm sitting, this chair upon which I'm sitting, this microphone into which I'm speaking, this telephone, they all were ideas first, words in somebody's mind first. And then someone said, well, we're going to need some transistors or microchips, and we'll need some legs and tables and the chairs and the, follow what I'm saying. But what I'm saying to you is that there's a greater underlying lesson to learn in that words have the creative power, because when we go to the Genesis scenario of Adam and Eve, it says in Genesis that God magically created the heavens and the earth. He magically created life. Don't say that in there. It says he said, he spoke words. And it was so. Words have the creative power. In the Hebrew language, the actual word, which is devar, the word for word is devar, okay? The word for thing in Hebrew is devar, the exact same thing. Words are things without motion. Words are things without motion. Repetition of words energizes words. And they came and they spoke one to another often. Repetition of words. That's why we're going to be meeting at where the Nation of Islam family comes together. I don't know what that location is. We'll get it to you. But you have the number again, which is 202-596-8182. 202-596-8182. If you're interested in the vegan delivery program, the men's meeting that's going to take place Monday night, I think at 7 o'clock. You can get those details there. Just call the number. We'll get that information to you. Or if you're interested in the new line of alkaline water that we're blessing our people with, but we're going to come together to discuss how we make sure that Minister Farrakhan's words don't fall to the ground. This ain't about Farrakhan. It ain't about Farrakhan. It's about safe and decent neighborhoods. Who wouldn't want that? The reason that the neighborhoods aren't safe, it's our fault, brothers. It's us. The man is responsible for the safety and sanctity of the family and the community. We're responsible for these women and these children. Young sons, I get it. You got some guns. You know, all that. We can't have this continue. We just can't. I remember when I heard that councilwoman, forget her name at the moment, it'll come to me, was shot up off of Curlin Street, pumping gas. That's the game? That's the game now? We shooting grandmothers? No. Okay. Listen. Let's sit down. Let's reason together. Because someone has given you the short straw, the short stick, you know. And you're losing because there's a thing called the criminal industrial complex where crimes committed by people of color actually result in hundreds of millions of billions of dollars actually in the criminal industrial complex. They privatizing prisons. You can build your own prison, and how you gonna make money off of it? Well, there's contracts for the food for the prisoners. There's contracts for the shoes, for the shoelaces, for the clothes, for the underwear. You know, the builders, they getting their money off of it. And your labor is free.
Your labor. Go ahead.
Your labor is free. You are a modern day slave. That's what's waiting for you.
19 cents an hour, up to I think you can make 49 cents an hour. Right?
In 2025.
In 2025.
Okay.
Right. So you will go to work for 8 hours and make 19 to 49 cents an hour. I think the highest paid job is 49 cents, if I'm not mistaken.
An hour.
50 cents.
So if you work overtime.
No overtime.
I'm saying if.
Right.
If you work 2 hours of overtime.
Right.
That being 10 hours.
Right.
You made less than $5.
Absolutely.
Somewhere they started glorifying the life of incarcerated human beings. Okay?
But they couldn't just do that. They had to hurt the other side, right? They had to make that seem worse than being locked up. Like being locked up had to seem better than being free. You know what I mean?
Are you kidding me?
But
exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
So to do that, you needed a couple things, right? You needed to attack the house, make that a miserable place to be, right? Make mom upset mom, remove the father, right? So now you're growing up as a young man without a role model, right? Most of the men that are trying to talk to you are coming at you hard. You're not trying to hear that, right? You want the ease of mom, but then you go in the house and you disrespect mom. Right. Then you go in the house and run her wild. Now she's calling somebody else to come in and check you. Now the brothers that are coming around, yo, man, your dad was a gat, your dad was a gun, your dad was this, your dad was that. Now I have something to look up to. I want to be better. That's every child's dream, is to be better than their father.
Yes.
At some point.
At some point.
So when you have those things in front of you, education system, they remove band. You were good with instruments, bro. They remove band out of the high school. They take theater away. Now you really don't want to go to school because the things that took you to school before was the band and theater. They don't have that anymore. So now you really don't want to go because it's not really doing anything. Chester High Band used to span a couple blocks back in the day.
I remember.
My mother was upset when I joined the band. She said, "You don't know how to play a trombone? You crazy?" Like, I'm going to learn. No, you're not going to learn.
Look, man.
So, deficit, man. They put us in this deficit where we're in a deficit with ourselves. You were talking about loving yourself.
Yes, sir.
If I don't love myself, how can I love anyone else?
For sure.
How can I give love to anyone else? How can I express love to anyone else? If I don't know what it feels like to love myself. So they put you at a point where you're looking at this mirror where it's this monster on the other side. This monster is foaming at the mouth. This monster has claws with blood dripping from it. And you go out there into the world and feel as though that's who you are. You walk past people nowadays, people don't even speak to each other. I can't even say hi because it's a sign of weakness.
Right.
I can't help this lady because people going to think I'm nice and people going to try.
What are we doing? What are we doing?
I'm sorry.
No, that's great. I'll interject right there. See, as your servant, as a servant of God and God's people, that has put me in certain places to be able to witness certain things, okay? What I'm saying to you, young brothers, is this, that the greatest disguise ever is walking into a room looking like a Negro. It's the best disguise ever. I swear. My experience has been that by the time these people figure out that, number one, you know what you're talking about and you know what you're doing, by the time they figure that out, we back at the airport. We on to the next business venture. What I'm saying to you, brothers, is that the world is not ready for these young sons that have already demonstrated the unity amongst each other and the intellect to figure out how to engage a system or whatever. All I get that. Now, let's redirect that energy as opposed to being a threat to the community. Let's redirect that energy to being an asset for the community. So we have a protege program coming soon. And we have a building program which we're reactivating as well out of the Tri-State Community Development Group. Brother Tahir Lowry has the, we've already written it up, and we checking into grants. There's money there for it already, but also looking into some other things outside of the country to impact upon the situation. So I'm jumping around, y'all, just trying to bring us up to date in terms of what I'm seeing and what I'm experiencing. What I'm seeing with conscious brothers and sisters that I talk to, they are not in panic about what the current administration is doing. In fact, they are kind of celebrating the fact that it's causing a situation where it's forcing black people to turn to each other for us to fix our own problems. If you don't know how or you don't have a clue, give us a call. No problem. It's what we do. We've built communities outside of America that are still standing and are currently in the midst of creating another network, a wider network along those same lines. So I wanted to talk about Farrakhan. I wanted to talk about the safe and decent neighborhood piece so that you all remember. We're going to be getting together Monday evening at the local Nation of Islam mosque. The brothers will be there for their normal Monday session, and we'll be going into that. Okay, safe and decent neighborhoods. Don't keep saying it. Safe and decent neighborhoods. Safe and decent neighborhoods. Let's put some energy to it, because repetition of words energizes them. And when words get energized, they bring forth, they manifest a tangible substance. Okay? Words are things without motion, right? Repetition of words energizes the words. Once words are energized, they bring forth the substance. So we want to bring forth the substance of safe and decent neighborhoods. The last thing that I want to mention in terms of do for self is this, they're calling it a mass blackout. Okay? Just to give you a basic description of what it is, there are some groups that are calling for November 25th until December 2nd to not spend money outside of the black community at all. Okay? From the 25th till December 2nd. So if you want more information on that, we could provide that as well here at the studio or via the number that I gave you, which is 202-596-8182. And I think the time has been well spent. I think we're going to tail off there for now, and we'll see you again next week at this time. I'm thinking that we're going to seize the day and be ahead of everything else that's happening in this coming week by getting the information that is needed out to our brothers and sisters before they even wake up. So you got your Sunday morning programs, you got this Sunday morning program. So as I close, I just want to share with you some words of inspiration from a gentleman by the name of Martin Delaney. And these are words which have inspired me. I'll say the words of Martin Delaney and the Honorable Marcus Mosiah Garvey. I can tell you about the background of Martin Delaney, but I'll let his words speak for him. He said, and I quote, and Martin Delaney lived in the 1800s, the early 1800s. Okay, he was an officer in the Civil War, a black officer in the Civil War. Okay, he said, quote, "I have determined to leave my children the inheritance of a country, the possession of territorial domain, the blessings of a national education, and the indisputable right of self-government, that they may not succeed to the servility and degradation bequeathed to us by our fathers. If we have not been born to fortunes, we must impart the seed which shall germinate and give fortunes for them." End quote. So that's Martin Delaney. And in closing, once again, like Marcus Garvey, we have to ask ourselves, where's the black man's government? Where's his king, his kingdom, his president, his ambassador, his country, right? His men of big affairs. If we can't find them, then we must become them. That's what time it is, y'all. So, in the words of Arthur Ashe, I'm reminded that he said, start where you are, use what you have, and do what you can.
Come on.
I'm your brother and friend, Brother Gamariyahu, and I don't have anything else to speak about right now.
Peace.